Good morning, kiddos. Today I'm going to be reading to you out of this book called Song of the Water Boatman and Other Pond Poems. This is a book of poetry, and it's poems that are written by this author, Joyce Sidman. And the poems have been inspired by nature found in a pond. So it's called Song of the Water Boatman because one of the poems is called Song of the Water Boatman. And there are many other poems. Let me show you. So when I open the book, it has the title page, Song of the Water Boatman and Other Pond Poems. And it's written by Joyce Sidman and it's illustrated by Becky Orange. So the words, the poetry is all written by Joyce, and she was inspired by nature. And then Becky drew all the pictures that go with the poems that Joyce has written. So when you turn the page on a book like this, it has what's called the table of contents. And it says right here, contents. And each one of these bolded set of words are titles of different poems. Listen for Me, Spring Splashdown, Diving Beetles, Food Sharing Rules, Fly, Dragonfly, In the Depths of the Summer Pond, A Small Green Riddle, Aquatic Fashion, Song of the Water Boatman, and Backswimmer's Refrain. Does that sound familiar? That's where she got the title of her book. Travel Time, The Season's Champion, Into the Mud, and then it has a glossary at the very end, words that we might need to look up. So when you have a table of contents like this, it's a book of different poems, different little writings about something. And I picked a few for you today, so that's why there's sticky notes. So the first one I'm going to read to you is called Listen for Me. And right away, you can see Becky's illustrations. And I bet you can guess what these are. Yeah, and they're in a pond. And so this is a book of poetry about things you find in a pond. Will you find these in a pond? Yeah, I really love this book because the poetry is beautiful. Poetry is an art form. Poetry is a type of writing, but it's done in a different way that makes you have to think, that uses beautiful language, that it might rhyme or might not rhyme. Not all poems have to rhyme. Like our poetry notebook. Are you making a connection to our poetry notebooks? Yeah. Almost all kindergarten classes have poetry notebooks where we study a poem a week. Well, let's read a few poems that are inspired by nature, specifically nature found at a pond. So this is called Listen for Me. Listen for me on a spring night, on a wet night, on a rainy night. Listen for me on a still night, for in the night I sing. That is when my heart thaws, my skin thaws, my hunger thaws. That is when the world thaws and the air begins to ring. Are you making a connection about what you know about these animals and what they do in the winter? Yeah, they hibernate. They almost completely freeze solid. Their heart almost completely stops beating. And when the thaw happens, when the earth starts to melt, right, with all that frozen snow, that ice in the pond begins to thaw out and become water again, these animals wake back up. I creep up from the cold pond, the ice pond, the winter pond. I creep up from the chill pond to breathe the warming air. I cling to the green reeds, the damp reeds, the muddy reeds. I cling to the slime reeds. My brothers are everywhere. My throat swells with spring love, with rain love, with water love. My throat swells with peeper love. I'm going to read that again. My throat swells with peeper love. My song is high and sweet. Listen for me on a spring night, on a wet night, on a rainy night. Listen for one tonight, and I'll sing you to sleep. You know what I really love about this book of poetry about pond animals and pond things that you will find in the pond? There's one we're going to read about grass in the pond. Is that then on this side, so I just read the poem about these animals. And then right here it tells you scientific information about these pond animals that this poem is about. Spring peepers, that's what these are called, peepers. The sound of spring peepers is one of the earliest signs of spring. These inch-long tree frogs can freeze almost completely in winter because of a special antifreeze in their cells. As soon as the ground thaws, they begin to come alive again, climbing up twigs and bushes with their sticky toes. Their nighttime song, a loud, steady trill, is actually a series of high-pitched peeps, lasting only 1/3 of a second, from their balloon-like throat sacs. That's what these are. Balloon-like throat sacs. The peepers you hear are the males. They are calling to attract a mate. Pretty fascinating, right? Now, we're very lucky and we live near some special ponds called Bancroft Ponds, and they're over there behind Patty Creek Market. If you haven't checked them out, go over there, maybe a nighttime walk after dinner. You can drive over there, park your car, and take a stroll around the pond. Or if you live close enough, we live close enough, we just walk over there or ride our bikes over there, and you can hear, we have frogs and we have toads over in that pond, but you can hear them singing. Cool, right? So let's see another one that I want to read to you. So I'm going to use my sticky notes right here, and I'm going to turn to the next one. And this poem, you guessed it, it's about ducks and little ducklings with their mom. This is a fascinating poem. This one is called Spring Splashdown. Spring Splashdown. And I want you to look at the words right here. And I want you to notice there's some words that the author chose to string in a line going down, and you'll find out why. This is called Spring Splashdown. Peck, peck, crackle, crackle, fluff, fluff, wiggle, wiggle, snooze, snooze, mommy calling, peep, peep, scramble, scramble, hop, hop, teeter, teeter, peek, peek, water sparkling, deep breath, leaping, leaping, splashdown, bobbing, bobbing, heads up, paddle, paddle, mom near, follow, follow. What's this poem about? Yeah, this is a poem that describes what happens when ducklings have hatched out of their eggs and they have waited long enough that they can jump out of their nests into the water down below. I'm going to read it one more time. See if that's what you noticed. Listen again. Spring splashdown. Oh, now splashdown makes sense, right? If they jump from the nest into the water, they're going to make a splash. Here we go. Peck, peck, crackle, crackle, fluff, fluff, wiggle, wiggle, snooze, snooze. Mommy calling, peep, peep, scramble, scramble, hop, hop, teeter, teeter, peek, peek. Water sparkling, deep breath, leaping, leaping, splashdown, bobbing, bobbing, heads up, paddle, paddle, mom near, follow, follow. So over here, it's teaching us some facts. It says, wood duck. The mother wood duck's favorite place to nest is a tree cavity, as high as 50 feet in the air. When her eggs hatch, she warms and dries the ducklings for a day or so. Only a day or so. Then she flies down to the water and calls to them. They return her calls and move toward the nest hole. Although they cannot yet fly, they leap one by one from the nest without hesitation. That means without even worrying about it or thinking about it. They just do it. They jump because their mom is down below. And they know it's going to be okay. It's part of nature too. They know that's what they have to do. Whether they land in the water or on the ground, they are almost always unharmed. The wood duck was once hunted nearly to extinction for its feathers. Strict hunting laws and the use of artificial nest sites have brought back the wood duck, but it remains a shy bird that prefers undisturbed ponds and wetlands. Pretty fascinating. If you go to Bancroft Pond, you will see ducks. I don't know if you'll see a wood duck. You'll have to keep your eyes out, but you will see ducks. You'll also see geese. There are some nests out there you should go check out. Let's see what the next one is I have marked. Oh, this is the one about the grass. So right here, one of the reasons I picked this poem is I love how Becky is the author, is the illustrator. I got the two mixed up earlier. Joyce is the one that has come up with the words, the inspiration for the writing part. And then from the writing, the illustrator, Becky, gets inspired by what she hears in the words and what she knows about nature at a pond. And she draws the pictures. Now, I love this picture because this line right here is the water line. It's as if there's a camera submerged in water. That means put into the water. That's what submerged means. And so Becky has made it so that you can see partly under the water and partly over the water or above the water. And here you can see the duck body that's floating on the water and the duck bill that's ducking underneath the water. And the feet, the webbed feet that help them swim under the water. So I love this picture. And then it shows these little plants. This poem is called A Small Green Riddle. A riddle is something you have to guess, but I bet you've already guessed based on my words and what you see. A small green riddle. I float without air. I root without soil. Eaten by all, named for one. The color of grass, water carpet. I grow daughters like ears. I am no bigger than a splatter of paint. Soon I will take over the pond. Let's read the facts and see this side. Let's read the facts and see what we can learn that can help us figure out this little riddle. This is the smallest of the flowering plants, about the size of this O. Right there. That tiny. That's tiny. That's a tiny plant. It floats on top of pond water, letting its roots hang down to absorb the food it needs. Absorb means soak up. The food it needs. It spreads very quickly by growing side shoots or ears, which break off and become new plants. In the warmest days of summer, it can completely cover a small pond, providing shelter for many insects and animals. It is a favorite food of almost every pond dweller. A dweller is someone that lives in the pond or at the pond. A dweller, in this instance, means someone that lives at the pond, so an animal or an insect or other plants. But in this case, it's going to be an animal or an insect because they eat these, right? Plants don't eat other plants. All right, it says it is a favorite food of almost every pond dweller, especially the duck. Can you guess what it is? All right, the last one I'm going to read to you today, because we love looking, in my family, we love looking for these shell casings. This is called a caddisfly. And let's read the poem and then learn about the caddisfly. So this is called Aquatic Fashion. Fashion is a word that describes what you wear on your body, whether it's clothing or jewelry or, I don't know if hats are considered clothing, an accessory maybe. Fashion. So this says, smart, young caddisworms select only the best to dress themselves. Strong, sticky silk, pinpoint pebbles, snips of leaves, or the tiny whorled islets of snail shells, edged in sand. Who cares if each sleek suit measures less than an inch? So this is about an inch, so it's less than, somewhere in between there. First prize gets wings. So they're talking about a caddisfly and how it covers in this casing used of all things found at the bottom of water areas, and then it'll hatch out of that and leave these little casings behind. Let's read caddisfly. When caddisfly larvae, or caddisworms, hatch, most species immediately get to work building themselves a protective camouflage case. They glue together whatever they find at the bottom of the pond, leaves, sand, pebbles, to form a long tube around their bodies. This tube has an opening for their head and upper legs so they can move about and eat. As they grow, the larvae build on to their tiny homes. When the time is right, they seal the end of their case and begin the 2-week transformation into adult caddisflies with wings. Pretty fascinating. So this says they're found at a pond, but we were at the Clark Fork River, and along the edge where it's kind of calm and still in one place over by, we were kind of by Karis Park, kind of by what's the Currents? I could not think of the swimming place. Over there behind Currents, we were down there where the water's kind of calm, and we found some caddisfly casings. So there's another place you can go explore. So this is a beautiful book. I only read a few to you today. I love this book because Joyce was inspired by nature of the pond. And the pond is one of my places to visit these days during this time when we're home. We go over there and just explore and see what might be blooming, what birds we might see, what animals we might see. We've seen some ground squirrels over there chattering to each other, and it's a great little walk from here and a great way to get out. Our dog loves the walks. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.